This phone looks like it's cut from a pair of blue jeans. And it packs a built-in subwoofer? I'm talking about the Poco F8 Ultra. Poco's new flagship would not settle for just blending in. I will go for GSM Arena, and let's see what the Poco F8 Ultra is all about in our full review. Poco's F8 Ultra is a different beast from the flagship-killing phones that the brand is generally known for, or even last year's Ultra model. First off, this is a cutting-edge camera phone. The triple cameras have gotten a complete overhaul with larger sensors for the main and ultrawide, and there's a longer 5x zoom. The screen is larger this time around as well. You have eSIM support, which the last model didn't have. And you have other nice features too, like the best Snapdragon chipset, a huge battery, and fast charging. And then of course there's the new speaker system, made in collaboration with Bose. It's a 2.1 setup, with the stereo speakers joined by a back-mounted subwoofer. We haven't seen this on a phone before. It's allegedly a tablet-level speaker, and it's pretty big. Overall, the setup earned a loudness score of very good in our tests. And as for the quality, it's excellent. We really enjoyed how full it sounded for a smartphone. The rear speaker brings in plenty of low end, while the other two deliver clean and lively vocals and treble. You can have a listen for yourself through a comparison tool linked below. Now let's get into the phone's design. The back here is reminiscent of the Xiaomi 17 Pro Max, except there's the Bose speaker here instead of a second screen. The denim-like material is an interesting choice, made from a sort of plastic. It has a rough texture, quite grippy. And the phone's frame is aluminum with a satin finish. Overall, the F8 Ultra is not exactly flashy, but people may give it a second look just by how unconventional it is. Just like the previous model, you get IP68 rated wrist protection here against dust and submersion in water. The F8 Ultra has a bigger screen than the previous model, at 6.9 inches. The resolution isn't QHD though, that has gone down a bit, but you still get a 120Hz refresh rate. Despite the decrease in sharpness, the F8 Ultra is still plenty sharp at 416 ppi, and you have support for 12-bit color depth, as well as playback for HDR10+ and Dolby Vision video. And it's all protected by Poco Shield glass, whatever that means. The screen can get quite bright as well. In our regular test, we measured just about 1080 nits maximum in automatic brightness mode. But we also saw it go as high as 3500 nits when the white content takes a smaller portion of the screen, so no problem as far as sunlight legibility goes. What you're missing on this display is LTPO tech. The refresh rate is adaptive, able to dial down from 120Hz while swiping around to a minimum of 60 when idling to save energy. We noticed that this behavior is highly dependent on the screen's brightness though. Below a certain brightness level, it won't dial down. Plus, other flagships can go even lower than 60Hz, all the way to 1Hz. Regardless, the Poco F8 Ultra is no slouch when it comes to battery life. The phone comes with a 6500 mAh battery, and in our testing it posted excellent results across the board. Overall, the F8 Ultra earned an impressive active use score of nearly 19 hours. No charger comes included with the phone, but the F8 Ultra is rated for 100-watt charging, whether you're using a proprietary Xiaomi adapter or a USB power delivery one. Both types of charger were able to top up the phone to roughly the same amount in half an hour, but the Xiaomi one was faster to charge to full, doing this in about 40 minutes, compared to an hour with USB power delivery. There's also support for wireless charging here, which can go up to 50 watts when using a proprietary charging pad. You can wake up and unlock the Poco F8 Ultra with an ultrasonic under-display fingerprint reader. It's very responsive. The phone has an IR blaster on board, which allows you to control other appliances. And the Poco F8 Ultra comes with 256 or 512 gigs of storage on board. That isn't expandable through microSD. The interface of the phone is Xiaomi's new HyperOS 3 on top of Android 16. It brings a slight visual update over the previous version, as well as smoother animations. A more noticeable UI-related change is the Super Island. It's like the dynamic island of the iPhones, giving you contextual info and shortcuts to things like timers and playing media. Xiaomi has improved its connectivity as well. Previously, you could only share things like files with other Xiaomi devices logged into the same Xiaomi account. But now there's support for sharing with non-Xiaomi devices too. Of course, there are plenty of AI-based features here, under the umbrella of what Xiaomi calls Hyper AI. These haven't really changed since the previous version of HyperOS, and they include tools for writing, transcribing audio, translation, and editing photos. For support, the Poco F8 Ultra will get 4 major OS upgrades and 6 years of security patches, the same as the previous model. The chipset of the phone is the latest and greatest from Qualcomm, the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5. It provides a significant bump in performance compared to the previous generation. Also, the Poco F8 Ultra has a dedicated piece of hardware that's meant to improve visuals in gaming and video playback. They call this chip a Vision Boost D8. Anyway, in benchmarks, the F8 Ultra did an excellent job, demonstrating high peak performance that's right in line with other new flagship phones. There's enough power here to handle pretty much anything you throw at it. The thermal management, though, leaves a lot to be desired. In our prolonged CPU stress test, we saw the performance dip to as low as 35%, then bounce back to around 80%, repeatedly. We didn't run into issues when actually gaming, but still, this doesn't exactly inspire confidence. And now the cameras. On the back, the Poco F8 Ultra has a main cam, a 5x telephoto zoom, and an ultrawide cam, all at 50 megapixels. During the day, the F8 Ultra produces superb photos with its main cam. Dynamic range is excellent, giving you well-developed tonal extremes, but also nice overall contrast. The white balance is dependable, and saturation is well judged to deliver plenty of pop without overdoing it. Detail is nice and sharp, and is rendered in a reasonably organic way. Photos of people are easy to like as well, with accurate skin tones and well-presented facial detail. There's plenty of optical separation between subject and background too, thanks to the combination of the bright lens and large sensor. But you can also summon the portrait mode for a well-measured addition of computational bokeh. As the dedicated telephoto cam has a further reach, for shorter zoom you'll need to use a crop from the main cam. At 2x, these have generally excellent detail, and while some of the rendition of things like grass comes out a bit more digital looking, as a whole these are great shots. That generally remains the case with people shots too, which remain detailed, though we did observe some irregular areas of softness, for no apparent reason. The F8 Ultra's main camera does an excellent job in the dark. You get expert level exposure, and dynamic range to spare for both highlights and shadows. The white balance is on point, and color rendition is top notch. Detail is great, with some softening only in particularly dark areas. The nighttime 2x zoom results are quite alright too. They're not pin sharp, but they're still reasonably detailed. At 5x zoom, the Poco continues to deliver. During the day, its telephoto camera captures great photos that are packed with detail, both at close range and from a distance. The excellent contrast and dynamic range is maintained, and color rendition remains easy to love. You can also count on top-class portraits from the telephoto, whether in photo mode or in portrait mode. 10x zoomed photos are also pretty good, if not quite perfect. Detail can be quite nice, though in dimmer conditions things do get softer, and distant random detail can be heavily sharpened. The telephoto cam's 30-ish centimeter focusing distance isn't that close, unlike what we saw from the previous model. Still, since this one has twice the magnification, you can still take some nice close-ups. At night, the 5x zoom shots come out great. They're nicely detailed, and while there's some graininess in there, it's not unlikable. Exposures are on point, and dynamic range is nicely wide. White balance is consistent, and colors are quite pleasing. In good light, the ultra-wide camera's output is wonderful from a global perspective, giving you great dynamic range and pleasing colors. It's plenty sharp and detailed too, impressively so. However, you do have a relatively narrow field of view for this sort of camera. And since focus is fixed, you'll have to skip on shooting nearby subjects with this one. The ultra-wide's low-light photos are pretty soft, with low contrast detail in the darker areas getting smoothened out. With more light to work with, the camera does a little better, but it never truly excels at night. The selfie camera is 32 megapixels, and it also lacks autofocus, but its wider than usual focal length and well-judged focus distance mean that you generally get sharp results. Detail is decent, and skin tones are nice, though colors are a little muted overall, and dynamic range is very good. The Poco F8 Ultra can record video in 4K with all of its cameras, which the previous model couldn't do, and its main cam can do 8K as well. Plus you have support for log recording here too. It's worth noting that the camera's Pro mode, used for video recording, features some nice monitoring tools. You get zebras for highlight clipping, and a tiny histogram, which can be switched for a tiny waveform. There's also monitoring for the audio level. Daylight videos from the main camera are very good, getting you the same nice colors and wide dynamic range you have in photos, plus pretty solid detail too. The 5x zoom clips are also easy to like in terms of detail and overall properties. The Ultrawide doesn't disappoint with colors and dynamic range, but the footage is a bit softer than expected, after we've seen how sharp the stills can be. The stabilization on the F8 Ultra is excellent, especially when it comes to the main cam. In the dark, the main camera captures good videos, with excellent colors and dynamic range, but it falls just a little short of the mark in terms of detail. The Telephoto is arguably more competitive. It's a bit gritty, but it's got very good detail and excellent exposure, dynamic range, and colors. At night, the Ultrawide is downright soft though, and we'd probably go ahead and call it unusable. So there you have it guys. Poco has really stepped things up and produced quite a unique prospect with the F8 Ultra. First, you have that innovative and full-sounding speaker system. Then there's the great flagship-grade cameras. Add excellent battery life and fast charging, a nice screen, and the top chipset. And this interesting design is the icing on the cake. There are a couple of nitpicks, if you're looking for them. The ultra-wide and selfie cameras don't have autofocus, and we didn't see good stability when it comes to thermal throttling, at least during testing. But if these don't bother you, the Poco F8 Ultra is a well-rounded and competitive flagship that's worth recommending. Thanks for watching guys. If you're looking for alternatives on our channel, you can check out our reviews of the Xiaomi 15T Pro and the OnePlus 15. Let us know what you think down below, and I'll see you on the next one.